Hey guys, welcome back to Cute Purple. So, before we start today's video, I have a huge announcement. I have decided that from now on I will call you guys Cuties. Now it's like based on my channel's name, that's Cute Purple. So, if you like cuties, then do give this video a like. So, this is a series of my YouTube channel video. This is like my first series. I am actually not nervous. So I'm not nervous. So, this series of my videos is called Short Stories Series #video number 1. So, I'm gonna read a short story online instead of a little book. So, you guys can listen to the story. So I'll be reading it on my iPad. So I have this link for my stories, and I saw a few of those stories from that link, and its stories were actually nice. So I hope you guys like this story. Now let's get started. So the first story I'm going to read today, it's a short story. So my story's name is Miss Brill by Catherine Mansfield. Let's get started. Although it was a brilliantly fine, the blue sky powdered with gold and great spots of light, like white wine splashed over the garden's publics. Miss Brill was glad that she decided on her fur. The air was motionless when you opened your mouth. There was just a faint chill, like a chill from a glass of ice water before you sip. And now and again a leaf came drifting from nowhere from the sky. Miss Brill put her hand and touched her fur. Dear little thing, it was nice to feel it again. She had taken it out of its box that afternoon, shaken out the moth powder, given it a good brush, and rubbed the life back into its dim little eyes. What has been happening to me? Said the sad little eyes. Oh, how sweet it was to see them snap at her again from the red eiderdown. But the nose, which was some black composition, wasn't at all firm. It must have had a knock. Somehow. Never mind. A little dab of black sealing wax when the time came. When it was absolutely necessary. Little rogue. Yes, she really felt that about it. Little rogue biting its tail just by her left ear. She could have not taken it off and laid it on her lap and stroked it. She felt it tingling in her hands and arms. But that time from walking she exactly supposed. And when she breathed, something light and sad. No, not sad exactly. Some gentle seemed to her bosom. There were a number of people out in this afternoon, far more than last Sunday, and the band sounded louder and gayer. That was because the season had begun. For although the band played all year round Sundays, out of season it was never the same. It was like someone playing with only the family to listen. It didn't care how it played if there weren't any strangers present. Wasn't the conductor wearing a new coat too? She was sure it was new. He scraped his foot and flapped his arms like a rooster about to crow. Interesting. And the bandsmen sitting in the green rotunda blew out their cheeks and glared at the music. Now there came a little fluty bit. Very pretty. A little chain of bright drops. She was sure it would be repeated. It was. She lifted her head and smiled. Only 2 people shared her special seat. A fine old man in a velvet coat, his hands clasped around a huge carved walking stick, and a big old woman sitting upright with a roll of knitting on her embroidered apron. They did not speak. This was disappointing for Miss Brill. Always looked forward to the conversation. She had become really quite expert, she thought, at listening as though she didn't listen, at sitting in other people's lives just for a minute when they talked around her. She glanced sideways at the old couple. Perhaps they would go soon. Last Sunday, too, hadn't been as interesting as usual. An Englishman and his wife. He wearing a dreadful Panama hat and she buttoned boots. And she'd gone on the whole time about how she ought to wear spectacles. She knew she needed them, but that it was no good getting any. They'd be sure to break and they'd never keep on. And he'd be so patient. He'd suggested everything. Gold rims, the king that curved round your ears, little pads inside the bridge. No, nothing would please her. They'll always be sitting down my nose. Miss Brill had wanted to shake her. The old people sat on the bench, still as statues. Never mind, there was always the crowd to watch, to and fro. In front of the flower beds and the band rotunda, the couples and groups paraded, stopped to talk, to greet, to buy a handful of flowers from the old beggar who had his tray fixed to the railings. Little children ran among them, swooping and laughing, little boys with white silk bows under their chins. Little girls, little French dolls, dressed up in velvet and lace. Sometimes a tiny staggerer came suddenly rocking into the open from under the trees. Stopped, stared, as suddenly sat down, flop, until its small, high-stepping mother, like a young hen, rushed scoping to its rescue. Other people on the benches and green chairs, but they were nearly always the same, Sunday after Sunday, and Mrs. Brill often noticed there was something funny about nearly all of them. They were odd, silent, nearly all old, and from the way they stared, they looked as though they'd come just from a dark little rooms, even cupboards. Behind the rotunda, the slender trees with yellow leaves drooping, and through them just a line of sea, and beyond the blue sky, with gold-veined clouds. Tum, 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 tiddle-lum, tum, tiddly, tum-ta, blew the band. Ooh! 2 young girls in red came by, and 2 young soldiers in blue met them, and they laughed, and Pate went off arm in arm. 2 peasant women and funny straw hats passed gravely, leading beautiful smoke-colored donkeys. A cold, pale nun hurried by. A beautiful woman came along and dropped her bunch of violets, and a little boy ran after to hand them to her. And she took them and threw them away as if they had been poisoned. Dear me! Miss Brill didn't know whether to admire that or not. And now an ermine toque and a gentleman in grey met just in front of her. He was tall, stiff, dignified, and she was wearing the ermine toque she'd bought when her hair was yellow. Now everything, her face, Her hair, even her eyes, was the same color as the shabby ermine, and her hand, in its clean glove, lifted to dab her lips, was a tinish yellow paw. Oh, she was so pleased to see him, delighted. She'd rather thought they were going to meet that afternoon. She described where she'd been, everywhere, here, there, along by the sea. The day was so charming, didn't he agree? And wouldn't he, perhaps? But he shook his head, lighted a cigarette, slowly breathed a great deep puff into her face, and even while she was talking and laughing, flicked the match away and walked on. The ermine toque was alone. She smiled more brightly than ever. But even the band seemed to know what she was feeling and played more softly, played tenderly, and the drum beat. The brute, over and over. What would she do? What was going to happen now? But as Miss Brill wondered, the ermine toque turned, raised her hand as though she'd seen someone else, much nicer, just over there, and pattered away. And the band changed again and played more quickly, more gaily than ever. And the old couple on Miss Brill's side got up and marched away. And such a funny old man with long whiskers hobbled along in the time of the music, was nearly knocked over by 4 girls walking abreast. Oh, how fascinating it was! She enjoyed it. How she loved sitting there watching it all. It was like a play. It was exactly like a play. Who could believe the sky at the back wasn't painted? But it wasn't till a brown dog trotted on solemn and then slowly trotted off, like a little theatre dog. A little dog that had been drugged, that Miss Brill discovered what it was not made it so exciting. They were all on the stage. They weren't only the audience, not only looking on. They were acting. Even she had a part and came every Sunday. No doubt somebody would have noticed if she hadn't been there. She was part of the performance after all. How she'd never thought of it like that before. And yet it explained why she made such a point from starting from home at the same time each week, so as not to be late for the performance, and it also explained why she had a quiet shy feeling at telling her English pupils how she spent her Sunday afternoons. No wonder. Miss Brill nearly laughed out aloud. She was on the stage. She thought of the old invalid gentleman to whom she read the newspaper 4 afternoons a week while he slept in the garden. She had got quite used to the frail head on the cotton pillow, the hollowed eyes, the open mouth, and the high-pinched nose. If he'd been dead, she mightn't have noticed for weeks. She wouldn't have minded. But suddenly he knew he was having the paper read to him by an actress. An actress! The old head lifted. 2 points of the light quivered in the old eyes. An actress, are ye? And Miss Brill smoothed the newspaper as though it was the manuscript of her part, and gently said, "Yes, I have been an actress for a long time." The band had having a rest. Now they started again. And what they played was warm, sunny, yet there was a faint chill. A something, was it? What was it? Not sadness. No, not sadness. A something that made you to sing. The tune lifted. The light shone as it seemed to Miss Brill in another moment the whole company would begin singing. The young ones laughing, ones who were moving together, they would begin. And the men's voices, very resolute and brave, would join them. And then she too, and the others on the benches. They would come along with a kind of accompaniment, something low that scarcely rose or fell, something so beautiful, moving. And Miss Brill's eyes filled with tears. She looked smiling at all the other members of the company. Yes, we understand, she thought, though what they understood she didn't know. Just at that moment, a boy and girl came sitting down and sat down where the old couple had been. They were beautifully dressed. They were in love. The hero and heroine, of course, just arrived from his father's yacht, and still soundlessly singing. Still with the trembling smile, Miss Brill listened to them. "No, not now," said the girl. "Not here. I can't." "But why? Because of the stupid old thing at the end there?" asked the boy. "Why does she come here at all? Who wants her? Why doesn't she keep her silly old mug at home? It's her which is so funny," giggled the girl. "It's exactly like fried whitening." Be off with you," said the boy in anger. Then, "Tell me, ma petite, share—" "No, not here," said the girl. "Not yet." On her way home, she usually bought a slice of honey cake at the baker's. It was a Sunday treat. Sometimes there was an almond in her slice, sometimes not. It made a great difference. If there was an almond, it was carrying home a tiny present, a surprise, something that might very well not have been there. She hurried on the almond sundaes and struck the match for the kettle in a quite dashing way. But to the day she passed the baker's by, climbed the stairs, went to the little dark room, her room like a cupboard, and sat down on the red edredon. She sat there for a long time. The box that the fur came out was on the bed. She unclasped the necklet quickly, without looking, laid it inside. But when she put on the lid, she thought she heard someone crying. The end. So guys, I hope you liked this story. I liked the story. It was really interesting. So this is my video, the first video. I'll be making more short stories of many different authors, or maybe the same author. I don't know. But I will be making more videos about short stories. So I hope you guys like the story. Like, share and subscribe to Cute Purple. Bye cuties!